Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have on the Goldstein on Gelt show Hank Quense, who writes humorous books, and actually he's a very big player in the publishing world, in a special niche of the publishing world. Hank, tell us, what does the future of the publishing world look like?
That's a tough question, because there are so many different elements that are going on, surrounding it. You got the traditional publishers who are trying to maintain their chokehold on everything, and you got Amazon, which is trying to own the entire universe, and you got the self-publishers who are getting, they're not going along with the self-publisher, or rather with the traditional publishers or with Amazon, and they're going out on their own, like I am. And I think it's a pretty exciting world.
Tell us what you mean by a chokehold on the industry.
Well, they've always had one traditionally. They were gatekeepers. If they didn't like your book, it wasn't published. The world didn't know about it. They only published the stuff that they wanted to publish, and if you didn't have an agent and you didn't get a contract with them, the world never read about your book.
Well, didn't that mean that you would have it's true they were gatekeepers, but didn't that help to maintain the quality?
No, I don't agree with that. I think what it did is cut off a lot of talented writers who didn't have agents or contracts. I suppose the quality may have suffered a little bit initially, but I think the self-publishing authors right now are publishing high-quality books.
Okay, so you mentioned about Amazon also trying to control everything. Don't the self-publishers need Amazon in order to have distribution?
No, they don't. I use Amazon just because it's convenient, but especially my ebooks, I distribute them through Smashwords, and they distribute it to a number of places such as the iStores, Barnes and Noble, Kobo. They do Overdrive, which is used by the libraries. I get a lot more sales through the Smashwords distribution than I do through Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting. I thought, like you, that Amazon was taking over, but you're saying that there really is some sort of democratization in the different channels that are available for book distribution?
Yeah, especially ebooks. I think Amazon's big push is on getting into the print books, their fight with Hachette and some other big publishers.
I got it. Is there really a future in physical books, or is it basically turning to ebooks now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think there is, yes. I think there's a big future. I think there's a future for both. After a while, I guess the market will settle down and there will be a market share for print books and a share for ebooks. But that's got a way to go before it settles out, I think.
Mm-hmm. So you've now set yourself up really by writing a book about self-publishing to teach other people about it. What are your credentials for doing that?
Well, I've been writing for quite a while. My first two books were published by a small indie press house, and that was so distasteful to me that I decided to self-publish. I self-published a few books, and then I started my own imprint, Strange Worlds Publishing.
So tell me about the first one. Tell me, why was it distasteful to work with the independent publishers?
The marketing consisted of sending out flaming emails telling all the authors to get off their butts and go out and sell more books. There was no help at all. It was impossible to get quarterly sales reports. I mean, if you really bugged them and sent them emails about once a week, you may get a quarterly sales report that was 4 months late. And it was just horrible. Their whole business marketing plan was terrible. Mm-hmm. So I said, then they kept most of the money. So I said, I don't need these people. I can do this stuff myself. And I keep all the money.
All right. Well, that is definitely a good model. We're talking with Hank Quense, who writes books. He writes humorous books. He writes satire and fantasy stories. He's also written a book about the self-publishing world. He's been telling us a little bit about his background there and also about the whole industry. Let's dive into your journey, Hank, a little bit more to understand whether being a writer is actually a reasonable career for someone, or is it just a nice sideline?
It's that's tough. It's tough to make a lot of money on just as a writer unless you hit it big, and that usually requires expending a lot of money on marketing or something like that, or just. I like to think of it as it's similar to playing a lottery. If you buy a ticket to the lottery, you have a chance to win a lot of money. If you write a book, you also have a chance to win, to make a lot of money. But the odds of winning and a lottery and getting a fortune through book sales is pretty similar. The odds are really stacked against you.
All right, so if someone wants to write a book and has an idea or doesn't even have an idea yet, what would be the best way for him to find something that really could have the potential to sell well?
I think first you don't write a book with one idea. Write a novel, you need about 100 good ideas. And you also, before you start writing, you got to understand that you need to learn the craft of writing, especially fiction. Nonfiction also has its own parameters, but writing fiction is tough. You got to understand story design. You have to understand storytelling techniques, and that's in addition to the ideas. Now, if you don't understand story design, if you don't understand the storytelling techniques, you're not going to get very far with writing a book. Mm-hmm. So you got to understand the craft first. You got to put in the time writing, practice writing.
So if someone's going to work on becoming a writer, do you think that, it seems to me the skills of becoming a publisher are a very different skill set from being a writer, and a lot of writers may not have those two together. So does it really make sense to encourage people to become self-published or self-publishers?
Self-publishing is different than being having a publishing company, but no, I know a lot of people who self-published, and they're quite good. They write good books. But they probably never get an agent. They probably never get a contract with a big publisher. So they decide to go on their own. And I think the quality of ebooks, while there's still a lot of junk out there, tremendous amount of junk, there is also a lot of very good books out there that are self-published.
I got you. So if you were going to give advice to someone who is maybe thinking about starting to write his first book, what would you advise him?
Join a critique group. Join a critique group and have them look at your stories and point out where it's not good and where it needs to be improved. I think the most important issue for a writer, especially a fiction writer, is to join a critique group and have other writers critique your work.
All right. How do you find such?
I think many local libraries have writing groups. There is online writing groups that you can also join. Critters is a very big one that's international. It's called Critters. I've been in that for years. And that's really where I learned how to write, is on Critters, people critiquing my short stories.
That sounds important. So what you're describing is that people who want to get into the business of being a writer need to work on it. It's good for them to assemble a team, meaning people who can help them out and critique them. And then to certainly certainly reasonable as a model to be self-published, because in the end they may make more money?
I don't know. It depends upon a lot of that. Making money is...
Well, they make more money than if they went the traditional route, because they get to keep basically all of the proceeds from the sale.
Yeah, but it's you probably sell more books if you have a big guy backing you. Self-publishing, really, the key word is self. You got to do everything yourself. You got to do all the marketing yourself. You publish it yourself. And marketing costs money. So if you don't have a bankroll, you're not going to get a lot of marketing bang. Mm-hmm. So having a big guy behind you, I guess, would be preferable in terms of making money or getting your book acknowledged by a lot of people. Self-publishing is you're working on your own, and in many cases you're working in the dark.
I hear. So there are definitely some hurdles to overcome. Hank, we're just about out of time, but you have certainly come over a number of hurdles, and I'm sure people would like to be able to learn more about you and follow your work. So in the last few seconds, just tell us, how can people keep tabs on what's going on with Hank Quense?
You can go to my website, strangeworldsonline.com/WP.
All right.
You'll find all my books there and links to a lot of other stuff about me.
All right, so we will put a link to that at the show notes of today's show at goldsteinongelt.com. Hank Quense, I wish you the best of luck, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for listening to me, Doug.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.